Western Conference podcast on location, brought to you by Dos Caras Tequila. And we in South Auckland, New Zealand, with a legend in the game, Mr. Estevan Oriol. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing great, brother. Thank you.
Man, and I'm telling you, we out here for a reason. And if they don't know the name, they must have been under a rock somewhere because, I mean, if you don't know this man's work, I'm telling you, you guys are not a part of hip-hop. You're not a part of the LA street culture, and especially on the West Coast because your name runs synonymous with everything from BOOYAA Tribe to House of Pain to Cypress Hill. But what are we doing in New Zealand, Estevan?
We came for the home festival.
Yeah, Homelands Festival.
Homeland Festival,
Yeah.
and they did a tribute to BOOYAA.
Yeah.
And D-Boy came out to represent the family, and he killed it.
D-Boy did his thing, man. The tribute to BOOYAA Tribe was just, I mean, you see the pictures and it give you like goosebumps, especially seeing, rest in peace, The Godfather, Gangsta Red, Monster O, and just kind of seeing the crowd kind of take to that. D-Boy did his thing first, and then once you start getting up from D-Boy, which is a spawn of Cobra, that's Cobra's son right there, but D-Boy doing his thing and going right into the BOOYAA Tribe tribute. And just kind of seeing how that whole thing came full circle. I was talking to Brother D and Monster Ganja about it. Like, you were around for those days where we were talking about as kids, kind of seeing them on Arsenio Hall. And this is what I'm talking about, the days in Carson when you kind of tell us how you got even affiliated and kind of known the whole BOOYAA Tribe family.
Well, it first happened. I used to work the doors in the early '80s, early '90s. And that's where I met them. I met a lot of groups there. I met Muggs.
Yeah, shout out Muggs, man.
Yeah, that's the homie. I'm from the Soul Assassin crew.
Yeah, come on, Soul Assassins.
See right there.
Come on, let them know, Estevan.
And then, so I met Muggs, and Muggs took me down to the Cypress block.
Yeah.
And in front of Sen Dog's house, I met them. I met B and Sen.
Yeah.
And that was in '89. And then I started inviting them to the clubs. B was underage, so I was like...
So you had to let him in through the back.
Yeah. Well, at that time, there was like underage celebrities that used to get in the clubs because they were celebrities. So I was like, if they can get in, you can get in, homie, because you'll be my guest,
Exactly.
And
because you was running the door.
I was running the door, and he lived a lot of life, and he'd done a lot of living that a lot of adults hadn't done yet.
Absolutely.
And probably never will.
Yeah.
Living that street life. So I figured, man, he's older in his head, so he deserves to be in here just like everybody else.
But just being at the door, you've seen a lot of shit. I mean, not just from being in the entertainment part of it. I'm talking about like having to deal with so many different nationalities. Where you dealt with the blacks, the Latins, and then Samoans come into play. Tell us how your first interactions with that kind of turned your world into even hooking up with BOOYAA Tribe.
Yeah, well, all those different ethnicities that you talked about, they're normal sized people. So when 5 Samoans come up, and
it's
brothers,
something different.
you can't help but notice them. It's
Absolutely.
Like, all the lights, gets
the sun goes away. The aura starts coming different. Yeah,
exactly.
When you're gonna meet a bunch of Samoans.
All of a sudden, you just see some big brothers, with some braids and long hair, and you're like, oh shit, what is this? And if you're from LA, hopefully. If you're not, you should know.
Or you're going to find out real quick.
Yeah. And
because I think the stigma about Samoans, I mean, we look like real intimidating people, but you kind of noticed it yourself that the respect level is crazy.
Right.
Like, especially with the DeVoe brothers and how the upbringing of, there is the gang life, but you also see the respect life of how we were raised and, being from the streets and everything. Like, is that something that you noticed right away as like, oh, they're big, scary ass Usos, but they still got a respect factor to them?
Man, like, I've been around a lot of people in a lot of different countries, but they make you feel like family straight off the bat, and I want to say I never felt like that before. I don't remember feeling like that, but I do remember from them, they always made me feel like family, and their brotherhood is deeper than a lot of other families that I've seen. Their brotherhood, like they really are brothers, and they really have each other's back no matter what. And
it runs deep.
And a lot of people throw that around easily.
Loosely,
And with them, they're the meaning of that, you know? They're the meaning of brotherhood. They're the meaning of loyalty. They're the meaning of family. And, I had nothing but love and respect for that and them since day one.
Because if you don't know that part of it, it could come off as being intimidating. It could come off as being like, shit, who are these dudes? Because especially when you don't know the culture.
Right.
I mean, it goes deeper than that when we talk about culture because that's where the respect level comes from. But your first instance of meeting BOOYAA Tribe, how was that whole interaction and how'd that go down?
I mean, the first time I ever seen them was them coming up to the door where I work.
Yeah.
And, you know, you see them come through the crowd and, you know, everybody starts moving to the side. And they're,
Parts like the Red Sea.
yeah, and I'm the guy who controls the guest list
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
and the little rope in the front.
Who gets in, yeah.
Yeah, who gets in. And, you know, when I saw them, I was like, well, they're supposed to be here,
Yeah.
you know? Come on in, you know? And they were always respectful and cool. And, you know, I can't compare them to anybody else that I met those at that time through those years up until now.
And how did like the musical aspect, like you have them being the big dudes, but when you found out they had a musical background, they could play instruments, they can rap and sing, like the voices that come out of BOOYAA Tribe, I tell to this day, you'll never hear the doo-wop anywhere else coming out of those kind of figures.
Right.
Like when you figured that out, I was like, okay, this is something different.
Yeah, I mean, ever since then, I've done everything that I could in my power with my career to put light on them.
Yeah.
You know, from the very first video I've ever done to, you know, I think they've been in maybe 4 or 5 of my different music videos that I've done through different artists. And then I ended up doing 2 videos where it was BOOYAA Tribe and the Transplants.
Yeah, man.
And so
history.
Yeah, history. Yeah. And to the point where, you know, they work with Eminem and the Paul from Eminem, he was a
Rosenberg.
Rosenberg. He was a manager of Cypress Hill at that time, and at that time he wanted to bring M out and you know, have M roll safely. So I was like, there's nobody better to do it than the BOOYAA Tribe.
Exactly,
you know?
because that's how the whole thing spawned with 911. Like just kind of, I mean, us as Polynesian kids, like when you hear that song with BOOYAA Tribe, and I mean, this is before we go to the Raid days and New Funky Nation.
Yeah,
when we heard Eminem on a track with Rid and Rid holding his own, as Polynesian kids, it was like, come on.
Yeah.
It was different for us because, you know, just seeing that whole interaction because, you know, nobody can mess with M, and just in hip hop alone that who's going to come after M? But then you see Rid come in and people don't know. I always say Rid was one of the most underrated lyricists.
Oh, for sure.
Underrated artists where you would be intimidated to work with someone like M. Nah, Rid was ready to go.
Yeah, he was like, put me in the booth, you know. Him, Be Real, and M on that track. It was
because come on, you got Be Real from Cypress Hill, BOOYAA Tribe with Rid, and then you have Eminem. Like people don't know the severity of how strong that song was, not only for the Polynesian community, but for hip hop alone.
Right.
To kind of see, you know, from the Latin background, you got the white boy from Eminem.
Yeah.
Then you got Samoan. Where's this kid Gangsta Rid coming from? Like when that came out, did you kind of like see that come to fruition?
Yeah.
How it came together?
Yeah, because that's what they wanted out of the whole deal. They were like, you know, we don't need the money or nothing like that. Like
we just need a feature.
We'll look out for him, but you know, just give us that song.
How genius is that? Like you could easily get a bag, but it's like, nah, we'll protect those, but we want a verse out of them. We want to get together with them.
Yeah, it wasn't about money.
Yeah.
But we got his back, you know, just shoot me some love back, and he got on the song. And M's one of the coolest motherfuckers I met in the business or as a person, you know, like that's real right there. You know, a lot of people would be like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah, I'll do a song for you," and
real Hollywood with it.
Call my manager.
Yeah, have your people call my people.
Don't worry, I got you.
Yeah,
and then you never hear from him again. The number that you got was
disconnected.
Yeah, like, sorry, you called the wrong number. You know, like Eminem was like, I got it. Let's go.
But especially with Eminem coming from Detroit and us being such a West Coast lifestyle, you know, LA was like the hip hop scene there was huge.
Right.
Like you, and I always say that you were there from the beginning because you kind of seen the growth of West Coast hip hop from its kind of like, you know, existence.
Right.
Like tell us how you being thrown into, like, because almost you was thrown into the whole thing coming up. Because you've seen, like, you know, the birth of the NWAs, the scene of the, you know, the House of Pains, and tell us how that thing, and you just knew as being an LA kid that this was going to be something that was going to take over the world.
Yeah, well, you didn't know because at that time, punk rock was big, new wave was big. You know, we all listened to classic rock, funk, and old school soul. You know, the oldies and stuff. But punk rock came along, hip hop came along, and it was crazy. You know, new wave came along, and it was just like, which one of these are gonna stick? You know. And look at hip hop; it's a multi-billion-dollar industry worldwide. Like every brand wants to be a part of it.
They want some kind of hand in it somehow, some way.
Some kind of culture vulture into it, and we saw that grow. You know, like in the '80s, we were in the club when all the message came out and Rappers Delight.
Yeah. Because it all came from the East Coast at that point.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the hip hop came from like the Sugar Hill Gangs and, you know, Curtis Blow and what you guys were hearing. But when it kind of transitioned to the West Coast and you started seeing the early signs of like the NWAs and, you know, the early, when BOOYAA Tribe came out, like they were a band. Like they could play every instrument. We talk rest in peace to Monster O. Like that was one of the baddest bass players of all time. Like, you know, but just to have them being raised in the church and them having their dad saying, look, everyone's going to learn an instrument. And to kind of just have that transition into what hip hop was, where you had the punk rock and you had the rock, and to kind of seeing them kind of have a seamless transition, that was huge for us as being Polynesians to kind of say, hey, they can hang with the Red Hot Chili Peppers and the people at those times, because you had the Ice Teas and they were kind of meshing the two. Like, is this something that you've seen from these brothers that was like, okay, something's different about these dudes?
Oh, for sure, 100%. When you see them, something's different, you know. And back in LA, what started the hip hop scene in LA was a radio station called 1580 K-Day.
Man,
it
K-Day.
was on AM, and back home we have AM and FM.
Yeah.
Nobody listens to AM except older people.
Exactly.
You know,
it was always the FM dial.
Talk radio, sports radio. And 1580 was the last one all the way in. You just twist it all the way in. And then you go one notch back, and that was 1580.
Put that
K-Day.
foil on the antenna, you was going to get.
It was like Uncle Jam's Army, the Saturday Night Jam, you know, the mixed shows. And I used to stay home and record that.
Yeah.
Like on the weekends, my friends would be like, hey, man, let's go to this party. I'm like, yeah, I'll meet you there.
Yeah, I have to record it on the cassette.
But I would record those things, and I still have to this day the recordings like from A to Z. Like, this is A, this one night, this is B.
That's crazy. Because we've seen that on the documentary. And speaking of the documentary, like that just documented your life as being, you know, a real fixture in the game of what we had. Like, we talk about all the pictures that we see, you know, from the book and everything that you had. Like, what made you have that eye for something that say, okay, this is West Coast? Like, your vision is definitely kind of changed the game for photography and you know how cinematographers look at things. Like, how did that even enter your life? Also being with so many things that had going on at the time.
My pops was a photographer back in the day.
Yeah,
and when I got what happened was Muggs and me became friends, and Muggs was like, hey, homie, excuse me.
Yeah,
I got a job for you. I want you to work with us. And I was like, oh, cool. I get to work with Cypress Hill, you know, because I still have the cassette that Muggs did that was a demo, and he wrote on it, Cypress Hill demo.
Wow.
And I still got that.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, homie, play this for people, play it for everybody, but don't copy it for nobody.
Yeah.
And I never did. I was like, hey, let me get a copy. I go, nah, you want to hear it? You got to roll with me.
Yeah, you got to roll with me. Yeah. That's all you're going to get it.
That's the only way you're going to hear it. And never let nobody borrow it and all that bullshit.
Like the bootleg, like how people was leaking, you know, music nowadays. Yeah, that was like if you was the one that had the cassette, you was the leak because you was the only one with it.
Right.
So you had to make sure that that was a real prized possession you had there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when Muggs was like hitting me up to do the job part, I was like, oh, cool, I get to work with Cypress Hill. He goes, oh no, it's with some white boys. And at that time, there wasn't too many white boys around except for like Vanilla Ice, third base.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh no, it's Everlast. And I go, oh,
wow.
Everlast. Okay, cool. From Rhyme Syndicate. Because I remember going to the clubs and he would come to the clubs I worked at, and I would go to other hip hop clubs. And
so you were already familiar with Everlast at that point?
Of course, yeah. So, you know, he rolled with Ice-T, Henji, Evil Lee.
The Rhyme Syndicate.
Yeah, Donald D, all them.
Yeah.
So when he said Everlast, I was like, okay, cool. And I went and met up with Everlast. It was me, Muggs, and Everlast. We had some food. And they were like, this is what you got to do. You're going to be the road manager for House of Pain.
Wow, just thrown into the fire.
Yeah. And I go, okay, cool. What do I got to do? And they're like, hey, you just fucking make sure they get into the hotels, make sure they make their flights, do their do their interviews and everything. And I was like, yeah, that's easy. So they said, you won't get paid at first.
Yeah.
You'll get your flights paid for, hotel rooms, and
the accommodations,
per diems, your food money. And I was like, okay, cool. Well, so at that time, I was a construction during the day, doorman at night. I was making decent money. Construction pays pretty good.
Exactly.
The doorman gives you $200 a night, but you get tips.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I had to run a little bit of game. Hey, I'm on the list. I'd be like, oh, you're not on the list, brother. Sorry.
But if you give me some of this,
yeah,
you'll be on that
I
list.
can get you on that list.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, a little something. And they, you know, give me the handshake.
Yeah,
and
with the with the money inside the hand.
Man, I don't see it. Okay, come on, man. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Who you got with you? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on in. You're in. So I made decent money. So to think about I'm going on a job with where I don't get paid.
Yeah, big decision.
That don't make no sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of dummy wants to do that?
Yeah.
Like, hey, quit both of your jobs where you make decent money.
Come on.
And come and work for free.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna give it a.
You took the chance.
I'm gonna give it a summer.
Yeah.
So I told both of my bosses, and they're like, both of them were like, hey, you're my best guy.
Yeah.
You got a job anytime. So I went on tour.
Oh, so they let you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they were bummed out, you know. They're like, you always have a job with us, you know.
Yeah.
So the first tour we went on was a promo tour. We were all in a van, went to do college radio. And
the run.
There was a thing called in-stores where you'd go to a hip-hop shop or a clothing store or a record store, and you would either do a signing or you would perform in the store.
Yeah.
For 5 people, 10 people,
whoever it was,
50 people, you had to perform your single.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And then Jump Around blew up.
Man.
We did a couple spot dates, they call them, where you go and play. We had a 7-minute DAT. It was the intro, and then it was like an interlude, and then it was
Jump Around. Yeah.
So
Did you know Jump Around was going to be a hit when you heard it?
I mean, if you heard that song and weren't losing
to this
your mind,
day, yeah, exactly. Something was wrong with you at that point.
You need.
So you kind of knew, okay, this is the one.
Slapped upside your head,
yeah,
you know?
Because it's still relevant to this day. That's what's crazy about it.
I mean, you see at sporting events,
the arenas,
whole stadium is singing the song,
absolutely,
jumping up and down in the stands. So we saw that back then, and we would go to some clubs that were, you know, all African American,
and test it
in the South,
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? And
the Chitlin circuit.
Yeah, we'd walk in there, no white people,
yeah,
no Mexicans, no Asians, blacks only.
You're like, hey, guys, we're going to see how Jump Around does here.
Yeah. Hey, walk to the back through the front door and play your little song, and then we'll see how it goes.
Exactly.
So we walk by, and you hear, man, who's these motherfuckers?
Yeah.
You know, what the fuck? You know, they were talking shit the whole way, and we're like, oh, man, we didn't have no security or nothing.
Yeah. So you was like, shit, if this don't fly over, it ain't going to look too good for us.
That's four.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
We go in there, jump around, come on, everybody lose their mind.
Going crazy.
Yeah, so after that song, you know, everybody's, hey, man, fuck, that shit was hard. We had no idea that was white boys and this, that, and the other, you know, so we were like, okay, we're cool.
Deep breath.
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah, that sigh of relief was like, okay, let's go to the next city. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Walk out of here not lumped up, you know? So the first tour we went on where, you know, got some recognition was the Beastie Boy tour.
Man, legends.
And we got kicked off that tour,
what?
Believe it or not. You know, like how do you get kicked off the rowdiest rap group's tour? You know, the tour managers at that time disrespected Everlast's mom, put her in the
see that it's all hands on deck once that goes down.
Yeah, we were playing arena, so they gave his mom the seats in the grass.
Wow.
And we're like, no,
the disrespect.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So Everlast went in and expressed himself as you should as any man.
Absolutely.
Like, hey, homie, put my mom, you know, give her good seats.
In the good
VIP,
seats.
you know, we ain't no lames, you know. Fucking got the #1 song on the radio. You're tripping.
Exactly.
And so they took that as
disrespect
to them. You know, not the Beasties.
Yeah.
The crew guys.
Management. Yeah.
The next day we're off the tour.
Wow.
But Kara Lewis was our booking agent, as Rakim would say. And she was like, you know what? It's a blessing.
Yeah.
And we started doing our own shows, getting paid. And I remember like yesterday, we would do 2-3 shows in a night in a limo, the 7-minute DAT.
Yeah.
And we at that time the rate was $1,000.
Yeah.
So
a lot of money at the time for the performance.
Yeah. I would collect the money. That was my job. So I would get the $1,000 cash, give it to Everlast.
Yeah.
Everlast go 3 for me, 3 for you, 3 for you. and one for you, homie.
Yeah.
And so I was getting my one.
Yeah, you was got the one.
2-3 times a day.
Yeah.
So, you know,
It adds up.
Right.
Yeah.
A couple of shows a week, you're doing good, you know. So
And you're grateful.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm grateful to this day.
Yeah.
So I never had to go back to construction or
the door?
the door.
Wow.
And at the same time, I was telling my pops, you know, like backing up to 89, I bought a 64 Impala.
Man, from the money you made from the tour?
No.
Oh, okay.
My construction money.
Oh, nice.
So I started hanging around with a lowrider club.
Yeah.
Started building my car so that I could eventually fly a plaque.
And when you say lowrider club, we're talking about in LA at a time where lowrider clubs was like the thing.
Yeah, early 90s.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was like the second wave.
Yeah.
You know, the 70s and 80s was one.
And then they had the new 90s wave that started to take over.
Yeah, the 90s when everything's in the videos, everything was in movies, it was blowing up. So I got the job, started being able to build my car a little bit faster. My pops was like, hey, man, you're doing the lowrider stuff in East LA, because my car club had one chapter only in East LA. And you're touring around the world with the rap group.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing cool shit.
Yeah.
So you need to
And this is coming from
document that.
Pops.
Right.
Yeah. So it means a little bit more at that time.
Yeah, but at the same time, at that time, you know, say a camera was like this big. You know?
Yeah.
Most people walk around with a camera like this with a strap on their chest.
Like the tourists.
Tourists, paparazzis, or the pros, the big dogs. And it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
This isn't cool walking
Yeah, exactly.
around with it, you know, like around your neck all clunking around.
Just kind of get over there like Clark Griswold. They're like, okay, we're about to go see the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, exactly. So I wasn't really feeling it. And I would only shoot those guys backstage or my homies in the car club. And then as I got a little bit more comfortable with the camera, I never wore it around my neck.
Yeah.
I just thought, like, I can't do that.
But
man.
you always had it on you.
I always had it.
Yeah.
In a bag or, you know, something. I could easily get it.
Yeah.
And
But take us to that moment. Did you know at that time when you were pulling out the camera that it would have the effect that it has today? Like,
no way.
Just to capture those moments in that moment in time,
No.
and just kind of see where it is today. You know, whether it's the black and white or whether it's an action shot. That you had to sit there like I never knew that this was going to be something that could literally like be a career.
Yeah.
Because you're doing tour managing at this point.
Yeah, I was cool with making my money. This was like a fun little thing I would do here and there, and I feel like stupid now that I didn't bust it out all the time.
Yeah.
You know, like I had this little cool tool that I could have been breaking out all the time and taking these sick photos forever, you know? And I would just take a little bit here and there. Like one day I would be in New Zealand with them. I would take 5 photos.
Yeah.
Be like, okay, I'll just take 5 photos here. The next day we're in New York, I take 5 photos from there. Then I'm back in LA, I take 10. You know, the rolls are like 36 shots each.
And then when you think about it now, you're like, I should have took 100. I should have took 200.
I should have took 10 rolls in New Zealand, 10 rolls in New York. You know, I should have just went off.
Yeah. Well, because you see nowadays, like the transition with social media, like where everyone wants that instant picture and, you know, pictures up on social media. Like at that time, there was none of that.
No.
So when you had it, you had to like develop it. You had to get your film. You had to go through the whole process.
Right.
Where it's like, okay, if you did to 5, you're lucky you got that good 5.
Right.
So now you could just go on your iPhone right now and click like 100 pictures.
Oh, people do it all day.
Yeah.
There's this thing now that I call spray and pray. And it's people, when they get a digital camera, they're just...
Yep.
And it's like anybody could take a good
Exactly.
picture of that.
Spray and just pray you get one good shot.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can. It's like, if you can't, then...
Something wrong with you.
Bang, smash that motherfucker on the ground, you know? And the other thing, too, is you had to pay for that shit.
Yeah.
It was expensive.
Well, you had to pay to get it like developed. You got to pay for all that.
Today, I think I shot like maybe 10, 15 rolls.
On your phone?
No.
Oh, on your cameras?
Right here.
Wow. Come on, Estevan.
I got like 10
you in your bag now.
I got 10 in my camera bag.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is just what I fit in my pocket on the second round.
But just imagine from what you were just talking about, taking 5 photos.
Right.
To having a pocket full of just things like we just shooting all over around New Zealand.
Right.
Like just did you have to adapt to the times where your adaptability was like, okay, I got to get this is a new camera. I got to get the newest camera. This is the one that shoots, you know, so many pics. I got to get an instant Polaroid camera.
Right.
Like how was your adaptability with kind of going with the times?
I said, fuck that. You know, like I got these digital cameras, and at that time the megapixels weren't good.
Yeah.
So the pictures always came out like shit. You could never blow them up big enough, and it looks at shit. Oh, man, fuck all this.
Yeah.
And I never did. I just kept shooting film, and people are like, "Oh, you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss the wave." And I go, well, "Fuck the wave." You know, I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna shoot film, and I'll be the guy that if you want film done, then you come to me. If you want digital,
go somewhere else.
Go to the spray and pray guys for $100 a day. They'll take care of you, and you're good.
Yeah.
That's how I did it with this, and it became. Luckily, thank God to the hipsters.
Yeah.
Film came back.
Yeah.
And
because
now,
I think that was the new cool thing. That was like the fad that came back.
So I was a cool older guy that did film.
And already
the
knew.
Whole way through.
Yeah.
And everybody knew that. The same with Instagram and all that shit. I was probably one of the last guys to sign up with Instagram because I was like, who the fuck got time
Well,
for
so
that
you fought
shit?
it for the longest time.
I fought it.
Yeah.
My homies were like, man, you need to get on it. You're going to miss it like you did the whole digital thing.
You're like, don't miss this fad. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck, you know? So I wasn't doing it at first. And then finally one guy told me, hey, put your name on every social media just to get your name.
Yep.
And they did get my name on a couple things first before me. So I had to like.
So they already put your watermark on there like what they have today. They put your name on it.
Yeah, they did the @ and my name. And I was like, hey, homie, give me my name. And they're like, you could buy it. And I go, fuck you, buy it. You know, so then I had
so you didn't, somebody had your name already?
Already.
Oh, hell no.
So then I figured it out.
Yeah.
And they were doing that shit to like Coca-Cola.
Yeah, because they figured it was going to come back where they had to buy it back from them.
Right.
Wow, so you was in this. That's when you know you somebody, though.
Yeah.
When they have your name, you're like, okay, I made the Coke list and I made that. So when you had to buy it back, you're like, oh, motherfucker, that's my name.
Right. So they had to, you know, I had to do other names.
Yeah.
I had to do Estevan _Oriol.
Dot or whatever. Yeah, whatever it is.
Estevan 213 or, you know, different shit. Finally, I got it to where I could get my name.
Yeah.
And then from then on, I went on every single app and I at least got my name.
Yeah.
I wouldn't post on there because I can barely keep up with one.
Exactly.
How am I going to keep up with 10 of these fucking things? And that's what I did.
But speaking of keeping up, like, how was the transition to social media? Because we see what it is as a tool for artists, as for photographers, videographers, you know, even just music artists. How did you kind of say, okay, I could use this platform to your advantage as far as saying, because you come from the old school where you didn't have these Instagrams and TikToks and all that. You had to adjust what your game was to kind of say, look, I'm from the old school, but now I have to kind of adapt to what this new platform is.
Yeah.
Was it a shell shock for you, or was it a culture shock to kind of say, okay, I could do it, but I don't know how to do it to its fullest capability?
Right. I didn't know how to do it to everybody that started on it at day one. At that time, I was in with all the magazines. Yeah. I could call up any magazine and go, hey, I got this new guy, D-Boy.
Yeah.
I want to do a feature on him. They'd be like, cool, shoot it. And we'll send a writer out or have him do a phoner. Yeah. And that's how cool I was with the magazines.
Man, so you already built that relationship over the years.
Yeah, because I was shooting everything and I was like, let me be your West Coast guy. You know? Like it was basically an East Coast thing.
Because it was regional at that point.
Right.
Yeah. You had the East Coast doing what they do, but you were the West Coast dude.
There was Murder Rap in the Bay, and then we had like Rhyme Magazine or Rap Pages.
Yeah.
Larry
man,
Flint.
shout out Murder Rap in the Bay, man, because that was something that me growing up in the Bay Area was something that, you know, if you had E40 on the cover, you had somebody with you made it. Yeah. So just to kind of have that element, kind of see what LA was doing, you were just, like I said, everyone was keeping up with the times, but it was changing so drastically and so quick. So you had to kind of also kind of up your game up as well too, right?
Yeah, because, you know, like, you know, shout out to Larry Flint too.
Yeah,
you know,
come on, Hustler.
I was watching his magazines since I was a youth, and you know, Hustler and all that.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm shooting for Rap Pages, which was one of his magazines.
Yeah. And not a lot of people know that.
No.
Not a lot of people know that Rap Pages was a Larry Flint product.
Yeah.
Like, and to kind of say you were shooting, I'm new for Larry. Oh, they thought you was doing Hustler, but nah, you was doing Rap Pages.
Yeah, it was a brother to Hustler.
Yeah.
You know, and I still to this day, I didn't cash some of Larry Flint's checks.
Wow.
Because I just wanted that.
Yeah.
You know, once you give it to the bank, it's over.
Yeah, it's gone.
I still got pictures or I still have the checks.
It's voided now though, right?
No, well, yeah, now you can't ever cash it.
Yeah.
But I still have them with his signature.
Just to have it.
Just to have it.
Wow.
And my first job with
Rap Pages.
Rap Pages magazine was Snoop Dogg.
Wow.
It was the cover. And
Iconic cover.
Right.
Yeah.
10 pages on the inside, and that was my first shoot for Rap Pages. And, you know, that was...
And we're talking about a young Snoop Dogg. We're not talking like before this all blew. Like, did you kind of know, like, when you're shooting somebody like a Snoop Dogg that, okay, this is one of them ones?
Yeah.
Like, same thing how when you meet BOOYAA Tribe, like, okay, they're a little bit different than the norm. When you met Snoop Dogg and you had this iconic shot of Rap Pages going on, did you kind of know that he was going to kind of be the face of the West Coast at that point?
Yeah, because he had already been out for like 6 years.
Yeah.
He came out in 92. That was, I think, in 98, 99.
Yeah. Wow.
And me and B-Real were like rolling around in the car every day.
Yeah.
So I go, hey, B, I'm going to shoot Snoop, probably at Dre's studio at Encore in Burbank, and roll with me. He's like, yeah, fuck it, let's roll. So we get in his car, get a contact high on the way there, and I go in the studio and it's all dark. And I'm an outside guy. I don't use lights. So I'm like, fuck, man.
You're the natural light guy. Yeah. What are we doing inside? Yeah.
Like, shit. And I don't know if, you know, if people have seen it, but there was a shot I took of Snoop, B-Real, Daz, and Nate Dogg all playing PlayStation.
Wow.
In the waiting room.
Oh, they seen it now because we putting the picture down right now, right on the bottom of the screen as we speak.
Dre.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah, so
we're talking about iconic West Coast legends right now. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I got that shot, and then we walked outside, and I did all these shots in the alley with Snoop.
Yeah.
And that was my first job with Rap Pages, first shoot with Snoop.
But where does your vision come from, Estevan? Like, when you see your shots, like, I noticed it a lot during the Bang On days, you know, with BOOYAA Tribe, and I seen the image that you had. Like, you got to have a certain eye. It don't just come to you either. Like, you coming from, you know, from the grassroots of hip hop in LA, is that something that kind of, like, it don't just come to you? How did that whole vision of what you portray on your photos come about?
Well, I'd say I would credit it to my pops.
Yeah.
And then he would always go to this black and white photo lab, so I would go with him, and I just shot black and white mostly.
Man.
I thought it looked classic. It looked cool. You would never know when it was shot. That's all things that I thought in my head. But it wasn't true, you know, because if you look at color film, in different eras, it looked a different way. Like 70s color looked a
different than the 80s color,
80s, but black and white kind of all went across the board. So I did mostly black and white, and then with the camera, I got kind of lazy. And I would always just have it on one setting, so that it always had the same look. But I would just put it in focus,
man.
So I just,
because if you see some of these pictures, and you guys seen through Estevan's work, like, these are iconic pictures that can be like on the side of billboards or wherever it is, you know, through magazines and just in the history of hip hop. Like, it's just a different angle. Like, you see the East Coast do with it, but you don't got that West Coast look. Yeah. Like, when you see the certain BOOYAA Tribe pictures, you see the certain, you know, Dr. Dre's, House of Pain, the Cypress Hill picture. Talking about concert photos as well. Yeah. Like, the energy and the nostalgia that you get from your photos now. Do you like, and you could never know that it was going to happen when you were taking these pictures. But when you go back and look at your portfolio now, like, how do you look back and kind of say, man, I did that?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's fucked up. I'm not an egotistical guy, you know, but I just look at pictures and I go, man, because sometimes I get in my head, you know, me and D-Boy were talking about it earlier, like, sometimes you get in your head if you're an artist. You're like, man, why am I doing this? Like, I don't know if I should be doing this anymore. Like, maybe I should just do some other shit.
Yeah.
I get like that to this day.
Yeah.
You know, Erykah Badu said it best. You know, she's like, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit.
About my shit.
If you're an artist, you are like that. You
Yeah.
know, sometimes you just think like, man, fuck, I shouldn't be doing this no more.
Yeah.
I should do something else. And I would feel like that.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, I wonder why people fuck with me, you know? Why
Yeah.
do they hire me? There's thousands and thousands of people that'll take photos and for free.
But why do they fuck with Estevan?
Right.
Yeah.
And why do they pay me?
Yeah.
When these dudes will all do it for free.
Yeah.
Why
at the
me?
drop of a dime too?
Then I look at my pictures and I'm not being a dick, you know, and I'm like,
that's why.
That's why. look at that shit. You know, and I get stuck looking at my pictures. Like, people are like, hey, what are you doing? I go, oh, nothing. I'm just chilling.
Yeah.
Really, I'm back home looking at all this history, all
soaking
these
it up.
moments of time. Because, like I was saying today that there's like you're in a moment of time that you're living, but that memory is forever.
And it's captured.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the only way it's forever is because I've forgotten a lot of shit. I forgot more than some people will know, you know, in their lifetime.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at all this cool shit that I lived through.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, man, like, what a crazy life. Like today I was looking through some of the stories that have been coming up while we're here. And I'm like, damn, man, people are only seeing seconds of what we've been doing while we're here. If they only knew all the shit we've really been doing.
Like they're looking at a quick snapshot.
Yeah. Like
and you're in the moment though. And saying like all that, you guys are just seeing one snapshot of what we just had at that moment. But we're talking about everything that had building up to that moment.
And all before and after.
Yeah.
And it's fucking mind blowing.
And it's crazy because some of the pictures I see from your thing, like you see those pictures and those artists or whatever you shot don't look the same no more. You know, life be lifing and age be taking over. So like when you have an Ice-T picture or you have a Gangsta Riz, like those are them when they were in their prime. And you know, as we get older in time, you kind of say, man, those are the years I was doing it. Yeah. You know what I mean? You see when Monster O was kind of had his, and he's all bulked up, and you know, you have GF and Cobra, everybody around, where it's like, damn, that was a time. And when you look at the pictures, and I don't think for our youth today, they would never believe us until you see the pictures.
Yeah.
And we can only tell them so much, and we see a picture and say, okay, well, this picture, and there's a story behind it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's dope about social media today, and with podcasting, with everything that's going on in the world, that you get to tell this story that you've been around this West Coast hip hop for years.
Yeah.
And to kind of have it come full circle for you. To kind of say, okay, look, we're in New Zealand right now. Like, come on, we're doing a podcast in New Zealand talking about BOOYAA Tribe and, with D-Boy and all the family over here. Like, come on. That don't happen just to anybody.
Yeah.
And I think it's definitely God's timing and something that we're a legend like yourself to kind of say, look, I have the Netflix, documentary and everything that my body of work, but you're still working. Like what keeps you still in this game and keeps you hungry to be the same thing that you was doing back in the day when you was with House of Pain to come full circle now than being with D-Boy and kind of doing the BOOYAA tribute? How does it keep you going and still going to this day?
The two things that keep me going are the bills.
Yeah.
and my love for the art that I do. Like, I have over 500,000 photos on film.
Wow.
You figure each one of these is 36, right? So I got a handful just in here. I got another handful in my bag.
It's crazy how you still roll around with those. You just pulling it out of your pocket like, I still got these motherfuckers.
Well, I got to take care of these motherfuckers. This is my
That's
life.
The gold right there. Yeah,
this is it. This is my bag.
Yeah, exactly.
And so 90% of the photos that I've taken, I didn't get paid for.
Yeah. Wow.
It was for the love of it,
Yes. Man, say that again, Estevan, because I don't think this generation knows what the love for it is. When you say, look, you did so many pictures and 90%, you probably wasn't paid for.
Yeah.
And then when you have like people putting your picture up, they don't give you the credit. Like, especially in social media today, you put up a bunch of Estevan photos. They'll never sit there, oh, by the way, these are Estevan Oriol's photos. And they kind of sit there like, man, they could at least shouted me out.
Yeah.
You in a place right now where you don't need it. The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
You know an Estevan photo.
Right.
You know by just looking at it. You ain't even got to say your name. So just kind of building that legacy and building what you're still building to this day. Like, where do you see yourself as far as a photographer coming in the next 5, in the next 10 years? Like, what do you have as far as vision-wise? Because like I said, life's going to be lifing. And we over here talking about from BOOYAA Tribe to D-Boy, what's in you to kind of say, I'm still relevant in these upcoming years?
Well, like Monster O, rest in peace, would say.
Rest in peace, Monster O.
We're making a movie.
Man.
And that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Now it's all about making movies. I can't keep up with everybody taking pictures.
Yeah.
There's too many people making
The
pictures.
next step.
And not that many people can do movies.
Yeah.
Because of my archives, I've been able to do 2 movies, the LA Originals on Netflix and the Cypress Hill Insane the Brain on Showtime.
Man, legendary.
Right. So the next
Chapter
project that I want to do is the BOOYAA.
Man, come on. It falls in line with what you just said.
Yeah, it's part 1, 2, part 3. To me, I want to tell LA stories with the archives that I have. And
which no one can do, by the way.
Yeah,
because they don't have you. Yeah, come on.
They weren't there.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to do. I want to tell these LA stories that I think are important to the world. And the ones that haven't been told,
Yeah.
you know, good enough. Like me and Cartoon, they were like, you know, I told them I want to do a Defiant Ones, you know, a 4-part series.
Yep,
They're like,
yep.
nobody knows you guys, nobody will care. We'll give you one show,
Yeah.
90 minutes.
Then all of a sudden it's like, whoa.
Yeah, all of a sudden it was
Impact.
#1
Exactly.
on Netflix, #4 across the board of all
Wow.
the movies.
Talk your shit, Estevan.
And then the Cypress Hill,
Yeah.
same thing. So it's like, okay, how about now?
Yeah.
And it's same thing. You know, it's a struggle.
Yeah.
Like they open the door to see who's there, but they ain't pulling me in or letting me in.
Absolutely.
I still gotta fight my way through. So, you know, I'm still working on trying to find a home for this BOOYAA doc.
Yeah.
But it's, to me, I believe in it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here. There's nobody, hey, Estevan, you know, here's a ticket to go to New Zealand and film the guys. You know, I was like, I want to do this.
Because there's a
If-
purpose.
If nobody sees it yet, cool. I'm not tripping because I know my vision.
Yeah.
I'm going on my own.
Absolutely.
I'll get my little piggy bank, crack that motherfucker open.
Do it
and
myself.
I'm
yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
And then they'll see it later on like they did the other ones.
Yeah. And do you see it with the BOOYAA Tribe story? Is it? I mean, of course, it's different because you know when you do the Cypress Hill, and it's a different demographic. And when I say different demographic, is because you've grown accustomed to the culture. You know, being in the Polynesian culture is different. We talked about it earlier in the earlier days when you met BOOYAA Tribe, but now to kind of tell the story, to kind of say, okay, I did the Cypress Hill thing, I did the LA Stories thing, but now this is. I got not tread lightly, but you have to tell it the right way because it's just something about our demographic where the first wrong thing it is, they're going to call you on it. So is that something that you have to go into this kind of say, look, I'm with D-Boy, I'm with the BOOYAA Tribe family, but I got to make sure I don't drop the ball. You know, I mean, I could have dropped the ball in Cypress Hill thing and nobody would have noticed it. But in this demographic, it's a little bit different because as soon as you do it, it's like, oh yeah, see, I knew he wouldn't do it right. Like, is that something that you got to pay attention to when you come into New Zealand and you go into these places to shoot? You're messing with D-Boy, you're messing with the family. Is that mindset have to be with you as you carry this story out?
No, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
You know, because the same way they wouldn't give us the 4 because we weren't, you know, known or whatever, they didn't get it.
Yeah.
Is what they're saying. We don't get your culture. We'll take a chance on it, but the same way, you know, Cypress Hill don't get their props that they deserve.
Absolutely.
They did a lot of shit first. They did a lot of shit better than everybody.
And don't get the credit for it.
They still got to struggle, and they still got to, you know, they still don't get the credit for it.
Yeah.
Like when I was with Cypress Hill, we did a lot of shit, you know, that nobody else has ever done and nobody can do because they weren't there.
Yeah.
And I feel it's the same way with BOOYAA, you know, like it's another thing that didn't get the shine the way it should have when it was happening.
Yeah.
And now it's time to give it the shine.
Yeah.
And I did everything I could to do it with that project, with this project, and now this project.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do it right.
Yeah.
You know, and I roll with the family so they know, you know.
Yeah.
Like I could have easily said, you know, hey, you know, I'll do it when I can. You know?
Exactly. Absolutely.
You know, just like everybody else, you know, but it's not like that, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, let's go. Like right now, you know, this is my next project.
And do you find that kind of like being all in God's timing, like where there's a time and a place for everything?
Right.
And I think, you know, because you've done what you've done so far and this being the time for it, like especially being with the BOOYAA Tribe tribute and here in New Zealand at Homelands, like kind of putting that thing together where I was kind of like in awe looking at it. And you looked out into the crowd and it was almost like chicken skin where everyone was kind of getting goosebumps to kind of seeing like, you know, from the New Funky Nation to the Psycho Funks and to everything that kind of transpired. Then they kind of go full circle and go right into D-Boy where it's like, man, there's still an element of this where it's like, it's still rough, rugged, and raw, where it's something that with your vision and with the people of, you know, just has the love for BOOYAA Tribe. Because I can tell you, as kids watching this now, as a Samoan kid, seeing how these brothers from Carson kind of did their thing, you have the archives that we would never see. Yeah. You have the pictures and stuff that the elements to the game that I think anybody that even in the family wouldn't even have what you have behind you to kind of carry this story out. And what makes it harder for me is kind of seeing like, you know, you when we go to Gangsta Rid's funeral, when we have Godfather's funeral, when there's Monster O's funeral, where it's like, okay, now we're starting to lose our legends. Right. Now I got to tell the story because, hey, I don't want to do it when it's too late. Right. You know, we still got our brother Gotti, we still got our brother Cobra here, where we want to make sure we get the right elements. Like, what is a challenge for you losing, you know, such big figures in Gangsta Red, GF, and Monster O to kind of say, okay, guys, Gotti, Cobra, we got to make sure we do this because I don't want to make sure we get the full story.
Yeah, the time is now, you
Yeah.
know, for this because everywhere I look, there's Samoans at the top.
Yeah.
If you look in the UFC, there's a Samoans there with Adesanya.
Yeah.
Whenever he fights, the whole card of Samoans. There's in the WWE, there's the new twins. They're
the Usos. Shout out the Usos, man.
So they had a, you know, wrestle against the older guys that were in there first, and now The Rock's coming back.
Yes.
So it's like, you know, in the WWE they're at the top, in the UFC they're at the top, and now it's, you know, time to put them in with this documentary.
Because no better time than now, right?
Yeah, right.
Because
now's the best.
Us being in New Zealand, that's why when we were all kind of going around, I just kind of went over to Estevan, I got to do this podcast only because the time is now.
Yeah.
You know, we could easily say, hey, Estevan, I'm going to come hook up with you in Vegas. We'll do it when we do it there. But I think the timing was right. And I think the timing for everybody to know what you have on the horizon with our Usos from the BOOYAA tribe, the time is now. And I think getting the right people to see this and, you know, with The Rock and whoever it is that backs this, to kind of see this podcast and say, okay, you know, even people now that's not even The Rock or that's not, hey, no, we want to put money behind that, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because I think this story needs to be told. And I think with you, there's nobody else better to do it than you because you have that ties to the family.
Yeah.
But with that said, in closing, you being the legend you are and the BOOYAA tribe being the legend they are, where do you want to see this chapter of BOOYAA tribe go?
You mean what platform?
Yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah.
I mean, the biggest.
Yeah.
I wanted to get the most shine that I can, you know. You know, shout out to the Showtime and the Cypress one.
Yeah.
That was great. But that LA Originals, when it hit Netflix, it hit worldwide.
Yeah.
Like I have so many people that hit me up from around the world for about the Netflix.
Yeah.
And then they come to me back on the Cypress thing because they see me posting it. They're like, how can we see the Cypress Hill thing?
Yeah.
We don't have Showtime over here. We don't have, you know.
Wow. Yep.
And it sucks, man, because it's like that shit should have been at the same platform as LA Original.
Absolutely.
You know, so I would love to see this right there. And, you know, that's where it deserves to be.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest platform, worldwide, international, you know, that's where I think this has to go.
And what I like to do, I'll always like to put it into the existence of the universe. The next time you guys see us, we'll say, look at the premiere of the BOOYAA Tribe documentary by Estevan Oriol, because the legend that you have and we built with the family, and I'm telling you, the next chapter with D-Boy, the next chapter that's going forward is going to be something that the world's going to see, and especially to have your expertise to be having a hand in it. So I want to give you your flowers because not just with BOOYAA Tribe, in the history of West Coast hip hop or hip hop in general, you've been doing your thing for many years. And I think you definitely have to be out there and kind of say, hey, look, we're giving you your flowers, Estevan, because not only are you family, but you're a fixture in this game. So I thank you for what you do for the culture. I thank you for what you do for BOOYAA Tribe and the Polynesian culture, because no one's going to do it how you do it.
That's right. Thank you, sir.
And I thank you, my brother.
Yeah.
It's your boy, Big Body Cisco. We got the legend, Estevan Oriol. Dos Caras Tequila. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Yep. Thank you.